Okay, this is a hot take here. Hot take. Okay, I find this set more desirable to me than the 501st Legion Clone Trooper set. I actually like the design of the AAT. Okay, guys, so we have probably the worst Lego set we've had in years, but it doesn't have any of the printing. But this is still a really small AAT, guys. It's really the size and the detail of the set is really where it's lacking.
Then they really downsized it in 2015 and 2020. They kind of stuck with the same sizing.
I wake up in the morning, I got murder on my mind. Count Dooku cut my hand off, he won't get away this time. And killing the defenseless ain't the way of the Jedi.
Hello boyos, Rich Boy J here back in with another video, and this is going to be another episode of Your Questions Answered. If you're not familiar with it, Your Questions Answered is a Q&A series that I do here on this channel, so if you want to see one of your questions answered below, leave it in the comment section. Make sure it's Lego, Star Wars, or Lego Star Wars related, and then check back next week to see if you made the cut. I want to give a very special thanks to Squidman for that awesome intro. I love it so much. That AAT set has been quite controversial. You guys know that I am not a fan of the design at all, and it's nice to know that David, even in his subconscious mind, is also not happy with it as I am. But let's go ahead and dive into the questions. The first one this week comes from Brick Pigeon. It says, how do you overcome a hard design that you thought you could do but can't and have to start all over again? This is something that I think you just have to get used to as a mock builder. You can't commit to any design. Lego designs are not like love interest, right? You can't commit to them. You have to be what we call a player when it comes to these Lego designs. You use one, if it doesn't work, throw it to the side, use the next one. That's actually a terrible analogy. Point being, you don't want to commit to these designs because when you're building something, you might design something that's really nice and works for what you have, but when you start adding more things to it, you might find that it's the case that, oh, maybe this doesn't flow well with all the other things I want to incorporate into this design, so you end up having to change it for that reason. You also just could very well later on in the design process come up with something much better. I think oftentimes when I build something, I'm like, okay, like this right now is the best possible version of this for me, and I don't want to have to change it. And then I might come up with something better, and I'm like, crap, like maybe I'll justify it in my head why the first version is better in some way so I don't have to change it. But if you really want to be a prolific builder, if you want to be someone who is constantly getting better as a builder, I think you just have to be open to the idea that whatever design you come up with for your builds may not necessarily be the best possible design. And with new parts, new techniques, there's always going to be a way to improve what you've built. So just open yourself up to that, and I think you over time will become a much better builder. Next question is going to come from Brick Wall Productions. He says, after Star Wars, is there another theme you want to collect every figure from? This is a great question. Star Wars is probably the theme with the most figures. I'm going to assume it is. I can't even imagine another theme that would get close to having the amount of figures that Star Wars has. So once the minifig wall gets done with, I'll be very happy to not just be buying so many figures all the time. But insofar as like doing that again with another theme, the only one I can think of that I really would want all the figures from is maybe Simpsons, which I actually have most of the figures from. I'm maybe missing like 4 or 5 figures from The Simpsons, but I wouldn't do a series off of that or anything like that. I honestly can't think of another theme where I'd really just want to collect all the figures and like make a big deal of it and do a series on it. Keeping up with all the Star Wars figures is hard enough. The thing about the Star Wars thing is we're always getting new Star Wars sets, so it's a moving target, right? Like even when the series is quote unquote done, I still have to be buying Star Wars sets to keep up with the wall, for the wall to always stay updated. So I don't know, like maybe you guys in the comment section, let me know, like what other themes do you guys think have good enough figures that are worth having a holistic collection of? I know at the end of the day, it really just matters like what figures do you like, but I'd love to know like what other like groups or themes are you guys collecting figures for where you would want all of them from that theme. Next question comes from Lamborghini Waffle Sauce. He says, since you've built a lot of mock set representations of on-screen or real life things, how would you tackle building something completely of your own design? Like would you still use reference images or something of concept art and piece together existing things into something new on your own, or would you just let your imagination run wild? Just curious from a creative standpoint, your process with such things are. So this is something that I think I still struggle with as a builder. Reference material is always key for me because that's what I like about Lego. I like taking something that you would see on screen or on real life and basically making a replication of it in Lego form. I think that is the most enjoyable idea of Lego for me. So the reason you guys don't see me do too many things that are just off the top of my imagination is because that's not really why I built Lego. That's not something that really excites me as a builder. I have an appreciation for that. I have an appreciation for people who can just come out with designs for vehicles, for example, and then make them into really nice Lego builds. But personally, that's just not something that excites me and something that I really would want to do. If I had to do something like that, I probably would still, take pieces from things that I like and maybe, like if I'm building a Star Wars ship, for example, I would start with, okay, I want to build this type of ship like a starfighter. So I would think about what are some characteristic Star Wars starfighters, and I would probably combine them in such a way and then tweak things. I don't know if I would just start from scratch and just come up with some, ship design that I really appreciate. There are people who can do that. That's not something that I've ever tasked myself with doing, and I don't know if that's even something that I would really enjoy doing. It could happen at some point, but for now, I'm pretty content with just trying to recreate as many things as possible to fill my Lego Star Wars collection with. Next question comes from Sayo Bibble. He says, what is your favorite Lego Star Wars movie or show? For example, the Padawan Menace, Freemaker Adventures, etc. I have to say the Padawan Menace is probably my favorite. I actually did think the Freemakers was very enjoyable. If you guys haven't watched it, I think it's certainly worth watching as a Star Wars fan. There are some really good Star Wars related jokes in there. In particular, there's this one gag they do with Darth Vader and Naboo starfighters. You just have to watch it. It's actually quite enjoyable. But the Padawan Menace I thought was amazing. The Padawan Menace had the biggest reveal in Star Wars since Empire Strikes Back. The reveal at the end of the movie. I'm not going to spoil it if you haven't seen it, but it's a pretty epic reveal at the end of the movie. One that you won't see coming. I'm telling you, it's like Empire Strikes Back, I'm your father type of reveal. Next question comes from Blasteroid17. He says, how has YouTube changed your life? Sorry if you've gotten this question a lot, I'm sort of new. I've actually never gotten this question. I think this is a really interesting question. But yeah, YouTube has changed my life in so many ways. It's honestly hard to remember what life was like before I was recording these videos all the time, before I was putting out content, before I was always working on a large scale Lego Star Wars build. Lego Star Wars was still a very important part of my life before I did this. My goal with doing Lego Star Wars was more so for conventions. That's kind of what I built around. Anything I built, I was thinking like, how can I transport this to a convention? How would I display this at a convention? Those were the thoughts going through my mind. Being on YouTube, I feel like there's more longevity with my mocks, right? It's not something that I just build for one event and then move forward, but there's typically a build series leading up to it. There is a video I do on it when it's complete, and that video is persistent on the internet, right? Like it's always there. I can always go back to it. I don't have the luxury of physically going back to Lego conventions after the convention is finished. So there's a nice sense of finality when it comes to building things on YouTube. Like it's always going to be there. Those memories, the process, I always will have documented. And as a builder, I think that's one of the coolest things in the world. Like if any of you guys are doing any Lego projects, and maybe you don't care to get big on YouTube, maybe you don't want to do it as, something serious, but I would recommend keeping a video diary, like a build series of your builds, just for the memories. Like years from now, you're going to look back on them and think like, oh, I remember doing this. I remember what it took for me to figure out this specific technique. And having all those things documented on YouTube is just so useful. Like I can go back through every build I've done on YouTube and really see step by step how I started off, the middle part, and how I ended up with the mock when it was finished. So that's one of the coolest things about YouTube. The amount of time I spent interacting with people has significantly increased since I've started YouTube. Like I'm always talking with people in the community. I've made so many new awesome friends, and just the social part of my life has really increased with being able to pretty much at any given time talk to someone about Lego Star Wars, a thing I'm very passionate about. I have Garrett and Mark, real life friends who are into Lego Star Wars, but they're not really into the community as much as I am. So having people in the community that I can talk to on a pretty consistent basis really helps fulfill the need I have to talk about Lego Star Wars. And really, I feel like YouTube is giving my life more of a purpose. I feel like I'm pretty gifted at building mocks, and the fact that I now can do that with a community who actually cares to see what I'm going to build, share those experiences with other people. It's one of the coolest things in the world. Like if young Rich Boy Jay that 10-year-old kid who is just getting into Lego Star Wars, getting his first Lego Star Wars sets, going to the toy stores on weekends, just looking at boxes of sets he never thought he would own, could see what he eventually would grow into, this person with pretty much every Lego thing he could have ever wanted, and the ability to build the things that he doesn't have. His mind would be blown, to say the least. So just coming this far, like this YouTube thing really just started off, I guess, for me as a way to entrench myself in the community. Like, I really just wanted more people to share my creations with, and it's become a pretty important part of my life since then, and I don't take it for granted. Like, I love the fact that whoever's watching this video right now, like, you're watching this video right now, you've become a fan of me in some way, hopefully. You've gotten something out of the builds I've made. I've hopefully been able to inspire you and pass on the love of Lego Star Wars. And so long as I'm doing that, like, I'm happy. I'm beyond happy. This is what I love to do, and I love the fact that I'm able to do it so consistently. The final question comes from Brick Builder Watts. He says, if you were to build a MOC based off of a film that wasn't a Star Wars film, what film and scene would it be? This is a great question, and I'm pretty sure there's tons of films, of things that I'd like to build from films. But the one thing that comes to mind, because I thought about it pretty recently, and when I saw it in the theaters, I knew I wanted to build it at some point, is the scene from Far From Home where he fights Molten Man. The Molten Man scene in Prague I thought would just look beautiful as a Lego MOC. I feel the lights, the dark setting with it just would all look so nice done as a large scale MOC. And building Molten Man and somehow having him illuminated as well would just look so incredible. Like, I think that would be one of the most beautiful MOCs to do in low light settings. I know it's kind of a random one, but that's one that I would love to build from a specific movie scene. But that's going to finish up the video today, guys. I hope you enjoyed checking out your questions answered. Remember, if you want to see one of your questions answered in this video, leave it in the comment section below. Make sure it's Lego Star Wars or Lego Star Wars related, and then check back next week to see if you make the cut. Also, please, guys, send me those custom intros. I thought Squidman did an awesome job on this one, and I still want to continue it. So literally come up with anything relevant to the channel, anything relevant to the community. Make a video of it. Can be high quality, low quality, I don't care. Just make it entertaining in some regard, and you'll see it at the beginning of one of these videos. So if you like what I do, go ahead, hit the like button to support the video, smash the subscribe button to support the channel, and I'll be back again very soon.